Hi, I'm Riley McManus. Welcome to Word for Word, where we offer you a more complete look at some of the interviews with newsmakers from across the region, conducted by our TBT News reporters. You'll have the opportunity to hear word for word how our interviewees responded to the topics of the day. We start today with the snow keeps falling this winter season. Each storm seems to bring more of the white stuff than the previous one. Thunder Bay got hit with a full day of constant snowfall on Thursday, with 20 to 30 centimeters falling. It all led to several highway closures earlier in the day, and local residents were once again digging themselves out. We were able to talk with Ian Spraljerich, the manager of the city's roads divisions, to see how they were handling the snow.
So first of all, Ian, I mean, it feels like every time we talk to you, this is the worst snowfall yet. This is the worst snowfall yet. So this is the worst snowfall yet again for us, right?
I'd say it's shaping up to be that way. Yeah, we're getting quite a bit of snow quickly here, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop for a couple days.
And what made it challenging for you in terms of starting to clear the roads? You mentioned that it was like it started early this morning, or like right around that time where it's like not quite clear in terms of traffic for you guys to clear. So yeah, so what made that challenging for you guys?
Yeah, so it started, the heavier snow around 4:30 this morning. So then when we got the plows out, you're dealing with a lot more traffic because of rush hour and people coming into work and stuff like that.
And how much more work has it been for your crews compared to the previous 2 to 3 major storms we've had so far this year?
Yeah, the snow is not really letting up, so we have to keep running over those priority routes. And like I said, during the day, we have to deal with a lot more traffic, so it's a little slower, and we're just making sure everyone's being safe as well as our operators.
And what's the plan going into tonight and tomorrow and then the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day?
Yeah, so for today, we're going to keep running those priority routes. We're going to have a plow truck and some sanders on overnight. Again, they'll be in at 2 a.m. They'll run those priority routes again. We'll see where we're at for snow. If we have to run them again, we will. If not, hopefully we can get into residential streets and then go into the weekend clearing residential streets, sidewalks, priority routes, whatever the weather gives us.
And is there anything else in terms of how you guys are progressing? Like how have you guys been progressing throughout the day so far?
I think they're doing good. Like I said, with the amount of snow that's coming down right now, we're getting those priority routes cleared as soon as we can, and we'll just keep doing that until the weather stops.
And yeah, lastly, is there anything that you want to add in terms of this storm and in terms of the plans going forward, in terms of the Christmas holidays?
Just always remind motorists to drive to the conditions. If you don't have to go out right now, don't. Give our operators lots of space to operate. It's hard to see out there, and drive carefully.
Meanwhile, the severe drops this week and heavy snowfall have led to increased foot traffic at Thunder Bay's two warming centers. Officials at Elevate NWO and PACE are stepping up once again to help the vulnerable citizens escape the elements. We caught up with Phoenix Schweitz, the director of harm reduction for Elevate.
What we're doing right now is we're just trying to get to the encampments as many times in a day as possible, just to check on our folks out there, making sure that they have the blankets and the sleeping bags that they need, they have appropriate protection, supplying individuals with heat sources like propane, taking food to them every morning, and just checking on their well-being, trying to get them down to Elevate, where they can come in and they can have, like a nice hot cup of coffee, breakfast, maybe some lunch. Currently, right now, we have got about 6 people in the encampments that we're looking after. Compared to what it was this summer and late fall, the numbers have dropped dramatically, solely for the reason that we've managed to get people into transitional housing, waiting for permanent residence.
Okay, can you speak to, do you have those numbers from the summer? Maybe you mentioned there's about 6 right now. What was that peak in the summer?
During the summer, I think we were probably looking at close to about 25 to 30 people that were in the encampments. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, that was more, I just needed that number so I could reference it for sure. No.
Yeah.
And speaking of those encampments, so you say there's 6 right now. What's that transition like? Is the plan to get them to services that would better fit them than being outdoors when it is minus 25, minus 30?
Yeah, so we're working with some partnering agencies right now to help speed up the process of getting people into transitional housing. What we do is we take individuals from the encampments and we get them into our cluster units. Currently, right now in the cluster units, we are looking after about 28 people. And we've managed to move probably about 10 to 15 into permanent residence.
Okay, and you kind of touched on it in that first answer there, but can you expand more on, I guess, the influx of people you might see around this time of year? Like I was saying, it feels like winter, finally. So how does that? Is there an adjustment period where okay, you kind of have to step things up a little bit? Tell me what that transition's like.
Yeah, so we really had to step things up probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago once the temperatures really started to dip. We noticed that some of the people were actually leaving the encampments to go to the shelter, the Salvation Army, wherever they can get protection from the cold.
Okay, and is there a number on an average night? You say you had to kind of pick things up about 3, 4 weeks ago. On the average day, how many people might be going through Elevate?
Oh, with the warming center. So back when we opened the warming center in November of last year, we probably had about 30 to 40 people that were coming into the warming center. And then once word got out that we were open, the attendance just spiked. Now we're looking at anywhere between about 90 to 120 people coming through the doors a day.
And in terms of the operations, what kind of difficulties? Like, it really does seem like you're all pulling it off here, but that has to come with challenges when you see that much of a jump in terms of how many people are using the site, the facility.
Yeah. So the only so our warming center is based on the 7 sacred grandfather teachings. So it's our goal to keep the warming center a safe place for community, a place where community can actually come together. The people that are visiting our warming center, they're very much like family to us. We've built a lot of really good, strong relationships. Unfortunately, there's a lot of needs out there that we're trying to meet. So we're hustling on a day-to-day basis, trying to meet the needs of those who need assistance.
And that's something I was mentioning to you before I hit record. I think it's the time of year once you see that first really nasty snowfall, once you finally feel that first -25 temperatures, when people really start thinking of the unsheltered, what can we do for them? But it doesn't take -25 for it not to be safe outside. Can you speak more to that?
I sure can. Back when we started the encampment work, there was an increase with violence aimed towards the encampments. Reports of people coming in with like 2x4s, disrupting the encampments. Also back in 2000, also sorry. Also back when we started the encampment work too, there was an incident where somebody actually took their truck and drove it through one of the encampments. Luckily enough, the person that was occupying that tent left 15 minutes before the incident. But we're still struggling with trying to keep people safe in the encampments and trying to eliminate the violence that's aimed towards that community.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Word for Word right after the break. The frigid weather this week was at least good for one thing: flooding the city's outdoor rinks. Last week's warmer temperatures and heavy snow caused setbacks for city crews, but now all the supervised rinks should be open to the public. We spoke with Parks and Open Spaces manager Corey Halverson earlier this week to see how the city crews were doing.
Might make more sense to start with boarded rinks before we get into Vickers. So just tell me updates on that, maybe this site and across the city. What are we expecting?
Yeah, so last week we kind of fell behind with the warmer weather and the snow. So today has actually been one of the first days in a while where we've had a good chance to do some flooding and instead of removing snow. So all the supervised sites should be ready by the end of today for skating. The unsupervised sites are a little bit further behind. Some of them will be ready, some of them won't. Any of them that aren't ready will have closed signs on them. Any of them that are ready should have their nets out on them. So some of those will be ready today as well. Vickers skating path and Dease also look like they'll be good to go for this evening as well. So we've been able to make some progress with the colder temperatures have helped us start building the ice back up again.
Okay, and just for someone who might not be totally aware, what kind of preparations go into something like this once that colder weather hits in terms of what does the city actually have to do to make sure people can safely skate on this?
Yeah, so we have combination of our supervised sites have facilities on site and staff that have access to water. They can do some snow removal themselves, but the flooding maintenance they can do with the staff that are on site. The daytime crews go around and they support the supervised sites with some of the major snow removals to try and get the sites ready. But then they're primarily responsible for going to the unsupervised sites, doing all of the plowing, all of the flooding through tankers, trucks. So it does take time, and it has to be coordinated with the snow events. So if we flood at the wrong time and then the snow comes in, then that can set us back. So it really is a bit of a balancing act, and we need the consistent cold weather without the snow to really get the ice built up so you have a nice safe base level.
Okay, and maybe speaking to anyone who's interested in using the boarding rinks, what does the public need to know? Maybe a reminder of hours, is there capacity, is there staff on site, anything someone might want to keep in mind when they come out?
Yeah, so the supervised sites, our hours are from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. now. Some sites are 7 days, some are 5 days. So if you go on the website, you can see which ones are staffed when. All of the rinks have lights on timers now. I believe all the lights stay on until 10 p.m. So even on the supervised sites, if it closes at 9, we'll be closing the actual heated facilities at 9. The lights will stay on. You can still continue to use the ice at that time. So I'll also mention that the ponds themselves, those are the last ones to really get out in place. So very few of the ponds are ready at this point. That reaches into January.
And looking over at the Vickers Park, the skating trail there, very popular last year. Does it maybe differ the work that goes into preparing that based on it not being just your, I guess, average mill boarded rink like we have behind us here?
Yes, the Vickers skating trail is a bit unique. It's similar to some of the skating ovals that we've done at a smaller scale, but this time it spans the entire north half of the park, so it's twice as long as it was last year. So that should be an improved experience. We also have a mirrored walking path on the south side of the park, so both of those activities can happen at the same time. But yeah, the trail itself, we've done some work to level out and do some grading where the path is placed, and it starts with some banking along the sides. And then again, we need consistent cold weather to build up a base because it isn't quite as level as what you would have in a rink. So once you get the base in place, we actually have an attachment to the back of the tanker that evenly distributes at a slower rate out of the tanker, as opposed to just having one valve sort of spilling into the center. It's spread across the entire path width. So, but again, that fluctuates with the temperatures right now. They're so cold that you have to sort of treat it a little bit different. So it's a bit of a balancing act, but they're actively flooding that site today, and it's coming along well.
And this is just a quick mention. Vickers, you did mention it'll be good to go for this evening.
Yes, they'll be actively flooding it today, and it looks like we should be in good shape for this evening.
Anything I might have missed, or whether it be boarded rinks, Vickers trail, anything along those lines?
No, just that we're excited to have the outdoor rinks coming live right now, and we'd like to be a little bit further along as we enter into the holidays, but we do have a fair number of sites that will be available. There'll be a media release going out later this week. It will say specifically which days the supervised sites will be opened or not through the holiday break, so keep an eye out for that.
We end tonight with over 135 rescue dogs from Manitoba were stranded in Thunder Bay on Thursday after weather and mechanical issues prevented the transport truck carrying them from going any further. The dogs were originally supposed to travel all the way to Newfoundland, but now have to head back to Winnipeg. Narby's Auto Service donated their warehouse to house the dogs. Dozens of Thunder Bay residents came to help by walking and feeding the dogs. We were able to speak with Aaron Manahan, who is the president of the Northern Reach Rescue.
Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, this whole situation?
So the dogs were going from Manitoba to Newfoundland from a rescue in Manitoba where they are overrun with dogs. So they were on their transport and they ran into weather and some mechanical issues. So the transport couldn't go any farther. Sorry, and so we ended up with 135 dogs housing for the day until the cube vans can come and pick them up from Winnipeg and take them back home. We've had an absolutely incredible turnout from the community. Narvi's Auto Body has been amazing. We're using their bay. We probably had a good 100 people come through. Some people are taking the dogs home to foster for the day, and then they're going to bring them back later. And some are just coming and helping walk.
And when are people bringing back the dogs?
So they should be here around 11 to midnight, as long as they can get through, as long as the highways are okay. If not, then early morning, like 8 a.m.
And can you, I guess, talk about how you feel seeing all these people come out and help out the dogs?
Oh, it's been absolutely amazing. I'm part of a different rescue. I'm part of Northern Reach Rescue Network, and we transport dogs all the time. So we've had situations like this in other communities where we have broken down and needed the community to come out. So it's really nice to see Thunder Bay giving back and coming out. Like, it's been an absolutely amazing turnout to help these dogs.
And I guess dogs will be available to, I guess, take home until the truck comes?
Yes, so they're technically a rescue from Manitoba's dogs. So they're not up for adoption, but you could adopt them from them. So yeah, they could come. You could come, take them home. We add you to a group chat, so you know all. We'll keep you updated. We give you the crate, the food, the leash, everything you need. And then once they hit Quebecer, I'll just ask everybody to come back, and we'll start loading them up to go home.
I guess those are all the questions I have. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I just like to thank all the rescues in town, Northern Reach, Paws for Love, Northern Critters. They've all come together to help. Navi's Auto Body has been amazing. Auto Service. They've been absolutely amazing. They've opened their bay twice now for these dogs to make sure they're in nice and warm. And I just can't believe the turnout. It's been amazing.
Thanks for joining us for today's edition of Word for Word. We'll be back with more interviews with newsmakers from across the Northwest.